Under a star-speckled sky, John meandered through the quiet forest adjacent to his property, a nightly routine to calm his mind. The rustling leaves and occasional calls of night birds were usually the only sounds piercing the silence. Tonight, however, a soft moaning broke the pattern, pulling John off his usual path. Edging closer to the source, he discovered a figure, dimly illuminated by the moonlight filtering through the tree canopy. It was a woman, her skin shimmering with an unnatural luminescence, crumpled awkwardly against a tree root. "Hey, are you all right?" John approached cautiously, unsure if he was witnessing pain or the remnants of a wild town party. The figure stirred, her eyes reflecting a faint glow. "Help me." The voice was weak, the accent unfamiliar and strangely melodic. John knelt beside her, his old knees protesting. "I'm going to help you, okay? What's your name?" "Mira," she managed to say, her breaths shallow. "You're safe, Mira. Let's get you warm." Despite her frail voice, there was a certain firmness to her tone, a stark contrast to her battered appearance. With considerable effort, John helped Mira to her feet. She was surprisingly light, her body strangely cool to the touch. Supporting her, they slowly made their way to his nearby cabin. Once inside, John gently settled Mira on the couch, piling blankets over her. "Stay here. I'll get some water and call for help." "No." Mira caught his hand, her grip stronger than her frail appearance suggested. "Please, no others. Just you." John paused, looking into her pleading eyes. "All right, no others. Just me. But let me at least treat your wounds." She nodded weakly, her eyes closing briefly in gratitude or pain. John couldn't tell. As John cleaned her wounds, he noticed they were unlike any he'd seen before. "What happened to you, Mira? If you don't mind me asking." Myra's eyes fluttered open, meeting his with a depth of sorrow. "I was left. My people, they don't want me. They left me to die." The simplicity of her statement struck John with a chill. "Well, I'm here now. You're not alone anymore," he assured her, trying to mask his confusion and concern with a warm smile. "Thank you, John," she said, her voice steadying a bit. "Your kindness is strange to me." John chuckled softly, grabbing a bandage. "Kindness shouldn't be strange to anyone. You rest now. We'll figure everything out in the morning." As he watched her drift into a fitful sleep, John wondered about the truth of her origins. She clearly wasn't from around here, maybe not even from this world. But those were worries for another time. For now, he had someone to care for, and that was enough. The night deepened outside, the sounds of the forest returning to normal as if acknowledging that tonight, one of their own had been saved. Inside, the warmth of the cabin embraced the odd pair, an old man and an alien woman, both far from understanding how deeply their lives were about to intertwine. The morning light filtered softly through the curtains as John prepared a modest breakfast in the kitchen. He could hear the faint rustling of blankets from the living room where Mira was slowly awakening. "Good morning," John called out gently, not wanting to startle her. "I've made some breakfast. Nothing fancy, just some eggs and toast." Mira appeared in the doorway, still wrapped in a blanket, looking slightly stronger than the night before. "Thank you, John. I do not require much food, but I will join you." As they sat at the small kitchen table, the awkwardness of their situation became palpable. John broke the silence first. "Mira, if you feel up to it, I'd like to understand more about where you come from, and why you were left here." Mira took a small bite of toast, chewing thoughtfully before she spoke. "My world is very different from yours. It is a place of vast knowledge and technology, but we are governed by strict rules. I questioned those rules, and as a consequence, I was exiled." John frowned, his brow furrowing with concern. "Exiled just for questioning things? That seems harsh." "It is our way," Mira said simply. "But seeing your world, the freedom you possess, it makes me wonder." The conversation paused as John refilled their coffee cups. "Well, Mira, as long as you're here, you're free to wonder as much as you like. And if there's anything you need to make your stay more comfortable, just let me know." "Actually, John, I would like to see more of your world. To understand it better," Mira proposed. a hint of curiosity lighting up her eyes. John nodded, a plan forming in his mind. How about we take a little trip around town today? It's small, but it's got its charms. Later that morning, John and Mira walked through the town, keeping to quiet streets and paths. John pointed out small landmarks and local businesses, sharing bits of history and personal stories. This is the old mill, John explained as they stood by the river, watching the water rush by. It's been here longer than anyone can remember. Used to be the heart of the town back in the day. Mira listened intently, absorbing every detail. And do people here still use it? No, it's mostly for show now. But it's a reminder of where we came from, John said, leading her towards the town park. As they walked, Mira seemed to become more comfortable, her movements more fluid, her interest in the surroundings more pronounced. John, why do you care for these old places? They serve no purpose now. John smiled, looking around at the familiar scenes. Because they tell a story, Mira. Our history, our struggles, and our joys. They connect us. Mira pondered this as they continued walking. In my world, things without purpose are discarded. You cherish them. It's different. Their day continued with visits to a local cafe and the public library, where Mira showed a keen interest in Earth literature. With each stop, she engaged more, asking questions and even sharing laughs with John. As the sun began to set, they found themselves back at John's cabin. Mira looked at John, a soft smile playing on her lips. Thank you for today, John. I have learned much. Perhaps tomorrow, you can teach me more about being human. John chuckled, his heart lightened by the bond that was forming. I think I'd like that, Mira. I think I'd like that very much. The early morning sun cast a warm glow over John's cabin as he and Mira prepared for another day of exploration and learning. With a map spread across the kitchen table, John pointed to various landmarks and natural wonders around the area that they might visit. Today, I thought we could head to the forest trail up north. It's peaceful, and you might enjoy the nature sounds, John suggested, his finger tracing the path on the map. Mira leaned over the table, studying the map with interest. I would like that. Your planet's natural environments are quite diverse. It's much different from the controlled ecosystems of my world. John packed a small backpack with water and snacks while Mira dressed in some spare clothes he had found for her. They set off in his old pickup truck, the engine rumbling comfortably as they drove out of town. As they walked along the forest trail, John stopped occasionally to explain about different trees and plants, and Mira listened attentively, her eyes scanning the surroundings. This is an oak tree, John said, patting the trunk of a massive tree. They can live for hundreds of years. See, each ring inside the trunk represents a year of its life. Mira touched the bark gently. It's fascinating how you use nature's timeline to measure history. We use technology to mark time, not nature. They continued their walk in a companionable silence until they reached a small clearing. John spread a blanket on the ground, and they sat down to enjoy their snack. John, I have a question, Mira began, turning towards him with a curious expression. In my world, emotions are considered distractions from our goals, but humans seem to embrace them. Why? John chuckled softly, taking a moment to form his answer. Well, Mira, it's because our emotions are a big part of what makes us human. They connect us to others, drive our passions, and yes, sometimes they hurt us. But they also make life richer. Mira pondered this, her gaze drifting to the trees swaying gently in the breeze. I am beginning to feel things I have not understood before. Is this also part of being human? It most certainly is, John replied with a nod. And it's all right to feel, Mira. It's how you know you're alive. Their conversation drifted to other topics. Mira's planet, her people, and what she missed about her home. John listened, offering comfort and understanding. As the afternoon sun began to dip below the tree line, they packed up and headed back. Once they reached the cabin, John started preparing dinner, and Mira helped, eager to learn how to cook. So, you add the spices first? Mira asked, watching John season the chicken. Yes, it helps to flavor the meat, John explained, guiding her hand as she sprinkled seasoning. Cooking is as much an art as it is a science. It's about experimenting and finding what works best. As they ate, Mira seemed more relaxed, more at home. John, Thank you for sharing your world with me. I never imagined I could learn so much in such a short time. John smiled, his eyes crinkling at the corners. And thank you for being such a willing student. It's not every day I get to teach someone from another planet how to cook chicken. They laughed together, the sound filling the cabin with warmth. As night fell, they sat by the fireplace, content in each other's company, each learning from the other. A sharing of worlds not through grand gestures but through simple, everyday moments. John had just finished setting up a small telescope on the porch of his cabin as the evening sky began to darken, sprinkled with stars. Mira joined him outside, wrapping a blanket around her shoulders against the cool night air. Thought we could do some stargazing tonight, John explained, adjusting the telescope. The constellations are pretty clear this time of year. Myra's eyes lit up with interest. I've seen your constellations in books. It will be interesting to see them through this device. John showed her how to use the telescope, guiding her gently. Here, look through here. You should be able to see Orion's belt if it's clear. Mira peered through the telescope, adjusting the focus. I see it. It's beautiful. In my world, we study stars at a very young age, but always through simulations. Seeing them like this is different. It's about the direct connection, feeling part of something bigger, John said, taking a turn to look through the telescope. He then pointed to a bright star. That one there is Sirius, the brightest star in our sky. As Mira took another look, John sat back, watching her with a contented expression. After a moment, he spoke up, Mira, I've been meaning to ask, what brought you to Earth specifically? I mean, why here? Mira stepped back from the telescope, her face thoughtful. It was not my choice. When I was exiled, they sent me where they thought I would not survive. They underestimated Earth. John frowned, his protective instincts kicking in. Well, their loss is my gain. I'm glad you're here. Mira smiled softly, her eyes meeting his. I am too. They spent the next hour swapping stories about their respective cultures' myths about the stars. John's tales were filled with heroes and adventures, while Myra's were more about the harmony of the cosmos and the laws that governed her people. Your stories are much more fun, Mira laughed, a sound John had grown to appreciate deeply. It's all about perspective, I guess. Our myths help us make sense of the world around us, John replied, adding more wood to the fire pit by the porch. As the fire crackled, Mira moved closer to the warmth, her silhouette flickering in the firelight. John noticed her shiver slightly and offered her a second blanket. Thank you, John, she said as she accepted it. Your kindness, it's very human. Is this also taught? John chuckled. No, I think it's more caught than taught. You pick it up from the people around you. Mira nodded, wrapping the blanket tighter around her. I have noticed that. Since coming here, I feel warmer, not just from your blankets but from your presence. John was touched by her words, realizing how deep their connection had grown. Mira, Suddenly, Mira reached out, placing her hand gently on his. Her touch was light, but the intent was clear. She was reaching out, not just for warmth but for a connection. John covered her hand with his, their eyes meeting in silent understanding. In that moment, something shifted, realization of their bond deepening beyond just friendship or curiosity. They were two beings from different worlds, finding solace and warmth in each other's company. The night deepened around them, filled with the sounds of crackling wood and distant nocturnal creatures. Together, they sat by the fire, neither feeling the need to speak, their shared warmth speaking volumes. The stars above, witnesses to their burgeoning bond, twinkled just a little brighter. As the sun rose over the horizon, bathing the cabin in a gentle light, John and Mira began their morning with a new sense of closeness. They decided to spend the day in the garden, a part of John's daily routine that he was eager to share with Mira. John handed Mira a pair of gardening gloves and a trowel. Gardening can be therapeutic. It's about nurturing. It's about growth. Mira took the tools, handling them curiously. We have growth chambers for plants on my world. Everything is very controlled. This direct interaction is new to me. As they knelt side by side in the rich soil, John showed her how to plant seeds. You need to make a small hole, drop in the seed, and cover it up gently. Give it some water and then, It's all about patience. Mira followed his instructions meticulously. It seems like a lot of effort for something so small. It is, but the payoff is well worth it, John replied with a smile. Wait until you see these seeds turn into beautiful flowers. They spent the morning planting various seeds and tending to the garden. Myra's curiosity was evident, her questions flowing as freely as the river nearby. Do these plants serve a purpose other than beauty? Mira asked, looking over the rows of freshly planted soil. Some are herbs. They can be used for cooking or even medicine. Others are just for enjoyment. But each is important in its way, John explained, wiping sweat from his brow. As they took a break, sitting on the garden bench with iced tea, Mira turned to John, a thoughtful expression on her face. John, being here with you, doing these simple tasks, it makes me question the ways of my people even more. We value efficiency over experience. I never knew what we were missing until now. John nodded, understanding her conflict. Sometimes, efficiency isn't everything. There's something to be said for doing things with your own hands, for experiencing life as it comes. Mira sipped her tea, watching a butterfly flit from one flower to another. I wish I could share this realization with them. Maybe it would change things. Maybe it could, John agreed. You never know how far a small idea can spread. The conversation drifted to other topics as they finished their tea and returned to the garden. They worked in comfortable silence, each lost in their thoughts but appreciative of the other's company. As the day drew to a close, they stood back to admire their work. The garden was tidier, and the new seeds were planted, promising future blooms. Thank you for today, John. I have learned much more than just gardening, Mira said, her voice carrying a tone of gratitude. John smiled, placing a gentle hand on her shoulder. And I've learned from you, Mira, about seeing things in new ways. It's been a good day. Mira looked up at the sky, now painted with the colors of sunset. Yes, it has been. That evening, as they ate dinner, the air between them was filled with an unspoken agreement. They were more than just friends. They were companions, each teaching and learning from the other, changing in ways they hadn't anticipated. Their bond had deepened, rooted like the seeds they had planted together, ready to grow into something beautiful and enduring. John and Mira sat at the kitchen table after dinner, a stack of paper and several pens between them. Mira had been inspired to draft a message to her people, hoping to share her experiences and the insights gained from Earth. Start by explaining your journey here, how you felt initially, and what you've learned, John suggested, helping her frame her thoughts. Mira nodded, her hand poised over the paper. I want them to understand not just what happened, but how it changed me. I need to make them feel what I felt. John watched as Mira began to write, her words careful but confident. After she finished, they reviewed the draft together. Your people value logic and reason. Your message should appeal to that but also introduce the emotional elements you've discovered here, John advised, pointing to sections of the text. Mira made adjustments, her expression determined. It's ready. Now, I just need to send it. Using a small, sophisticated device she had kept hidden, Mira transmitted her message into the cosmos, directed towards her home planet. John marveled at the technology, but he was more impressed by Myra's courage. Now, we wait, Mira said, a hint of nervousness in her voice. However they respond, remember you've done something remarkable, John reassured her. Over the next few days, while they awaited a response, John introduced Mira to more aspects of human culture. They visited a local museum, attended a community concert, and even went to a movie, which delighted Mira with its storytelling. This method of storytelling is fascinating. We have visual records, but nothing so immersive, Mira commented as they walked home from the cinema. It's all about connection. Movies, music, art, they're ways we share our experiences with others, John explained. As they engaged with the community, John noticed a change in Mira. She was more open, more expressive. It was as if the earth was working its magic on her, softening the edges of her once rigid demeanor. One evening, as they were making dinner together, Myra's device beeped loudly, signaling an incoming message. Both their hearts raced as Mira activated the device to receive the response. The message was audiovisual, the face of an elder from Myra's planet appearing before them. John stood beside Mira, offering silent support as they listened. "Mira, your message has been received and discussed among the council." The elders spoke in their melodious language, which John could now somewhat understand thanks to Myra's lessons. "Your experiences and the concepts you share are unconventional." There was a pause, and Myra's grip tightened on the counter. However, the elder continued, "There is merit in what you propose. We are considering your suggestions. This discussion, prompted by your insights, may lead to incremental changes in our interactions with other worlds and species." Mira let out a breath she didn't realize she'd been holding. "Thank you, Elder. I hope my experiences can benefit our people." "You have sparked a debate, Mira. That is the first step towards growth. We will continue to monitor your journey and reassess our policies in due time." The elder concluded, and the message ended. Mira turned to John, a mix of relief and joy on her face. "They're listening, John. They're actually considering change." John smiled broadly, pride filling his chest. "Mira, you've done something incredible. You took your experience and turned it into a potential path for peace and understanding. That's more than most can say." That night, they celebrated with a special dinner. John toasted to Myra's courage and the unforeseen impact of her journey. As they sat under the stars later, Mira leaned against John, her mind alive with possibilities. "Whatever happens next, I have you to thank for showing me this world's beauty and its capacity for kindness. And I have you to thank for showing me the power of one voice to make a difference," John replied, knowing their shared journey had altered both their destinies. The crisp morning air was tinged with a hint of melancholy as John and Mira sat on the porch with their coffee. The leaves rustled softly, speaking to the inevitable change of seasons and circumstances. "Mira, have you thought about when you might go back?" John asked gently, knowing the question hung heavy between them. Mira took a slow sip of her coffee, her gaze fixed on the horizon. "Yes, I have. With the dialogue now open with my people, it might be time for me to return. I need to be there to continue this change." John nodded, his heart heavy. "I understand. You've started something important. It's bigger than us." Mira turned to him, her eyes soft. "But it began here with you. You changed my fate." They spent the day together, not venturing far from the cabin, both sensing the need to savor these last moments. John took Mira around the property, visiting their favorite spots: the garden where they planted seeds, the bench by the river, and the spot under the oak tree where they first looked at the stars together. As the day faded into evening, John prepared a farewell dinner. They ate mostly in silence, the weight of the goodbye dampening their spirits. After dinner, Mira packed her few belongings, including some earth items John had given her as mementos. They stood at the door, neither wanting to speak the final words. Finally, Mira broke the silence. "John, I am scared. Going back means facing those who rejected me. But I also feel strong, empowered by what I've learned and experienced here." John reached out and took her hand, giving it a reassuring squeeze. "Mira, you're one of the bravest souls I've ever met. You'll change them, just as you've changed me." Mira smiled, a tear glimmering in her eye. "And you, John, remember what we shared. Keep looking at the stars for me." "I will. And hey, maybe one day, I'll come visit your world," John said, trying to lighten the mood. Mira laughed softly, the sound both sad and beautiful. "I would like that. To show you my world, as you have shown me yours." They embraced, a long, tight hug that spoke volumes. Then, with a final look, Mira stepped outside, her figure silhouetted against the moonlight. She turned once to wave before disappearing into the night. John watched until he could no longer see her, the silence of the night enveloping him. He felt a profound sense of loss, but also gratitude for the time they had shared and the growth they had both experienced. Inside, the cabin felt emptier than before, but John knew this was not an end, but a new beginning, a continuation of a journey that had changed them both forever. As he cleaned up the remnants of their last dinner together, he realized that Mira had left something behind, a small book about the stars they had often read together. Picking it up, John flipped through the pages, each one a memory, each star a story. He knew that as long as he had this book, Mira would never be truly gone. She had changed his life, his perspective, his world. And for that, he would always be grateful. Months had passed since Mira returned to her planet, but not a day went by that John didn't think about her. He continued his daily routines, but now, each task was imbued with memories of their time together. One chilly evening, as John was stoking the fire in his living room, his computer beeped, a signal that a message had arrived from space. His heart leapt with hope and excitement. It had to be Mira. Rushing to the computer, he opened the message. It was indeed from Mira, complete with a video attachment. John clicked play, and Myra's face appeared on the screen, her expression serious but her eyes warm. "Hello, John." Her voice crackled through the speakers. "I hope this message finds you well. I have much to share." John leaned closer, hanging on every word. "Since returning, I have been part of many discussions about Earth, about the concepts of empathy, kindness, and personal connection. These discussions have sparked curiosity and even admiration among my people." The video showed clips of Mira speaking before various assemblies, her demeanor confident, her arguments persuasive. "Our leaders have initiated a pilot program, one that explores the integration of Earth's philosophies with our own. It's a small step, but a significant one. And John, it's all because of what I learned from you." John's eyes misted with tears. He felt a profound connection to a world so far away, touched by the knowledge that he had played a part in bringing about change. Mira continued, "I am also starting a cultural exchange initiative. We are reaching out to Earth formally now. Who knows, perhaps our paths may cross again under official circumstances." The thought of seeing Mira again, of witnessing the impact of their shared experiences on a larger scale, filled John with an overwhelming joy. The message concluded with Mira saying, "Thank you, John, for everything. Keep watching the stars. Maybe one day, they'll lead me back to you." As the screen faded to black, John sat back, a sense of peace settling over him. He looked around his living room, at the small tokens of Myra's visit, the gardening tools they had used together, the books they had read, and the map of the stars they had explored, each item a reminder of their time together. The next day, John visited the local school to talk about his experiences with Mira. The children listened, wide-eyed, as he described the universe's vastness and the possibilities of cultural exchange and understanding. "Every person you meet has something to teach you," John told them. "And sometimes, those lessons can change the world." Inspired by Myra's message, John decided to write a book about their experiences. He spent days at his desk, recounting every detail, hoping to share the story of how a simple act of kindness could bridge worlds. As he wrote, he realized that his life had gained a new purpose. Mira had changed him, had expanded his world beyond the boundaries of his small town, and now he sought to pass on that legacy. Months turned into years, and John's book was eventually published. It found its way into libraries, schools, and even across the sea. His story of interstellar friendship and cultural exchange became a beacon for those who believed in the power of empathy and understanding. Sitting on his porch one evening, watching the stars twinkle in the vast sky, John felt a connection not just to Mira but to the universe. He realized that the legacy they had created together was not just about the changes on her planet or the book he had written. It was about the ongoing ripple effect of their shared experiences, continuing to inspire and influence others long into the future. With a contented sigh, John stood up, taking one last look at the night sky before heading inside, ready to start another chapter of his life, forever changed, forever grateful.